Ned, the concept of metaphysics is something that I'm fascinated with, but sometimes embarrassed to discuss in front of my scientific friends. Maybe some people think it's too middle-age philosophy-oriented. Maybe some people associate it with the occult or something like that. But metaphysics potentially has a real opportunity to let us dissect reality, to understand it better. As a philosopher, particularly a philosopher of mind, how do you view metaphysics as an analytical tool to help us understand?
I think of philosophy as continuous with science, and I think of metaphysics as being something that is done both by philosophers and by scientists. Look, metaphysics is just a study of the fundamental nature of things. I'm interested in the fundamental nature of consciousness, but so are some scientists. I think that chemists are in part interested in the metaphysics of, say, water. What is it most fundamentally? So I think that the questions of metaphysics are ones that involve science, and the scientists are doing it themselves. It's important to distinguish, by the way, between metaphysics and ontology. Okay, so metaphysics is the study of the ultimate nature of things. Ontology is a part of that study, which is the study of what there is, as the famous philosopher W.B. Quine put it. The main question in ontology is, are there immaterial things, or is everything material? Now, scientists are not in the business of answering that ontological question, but they are in the business of doing metaphysics generally in the sense of finding the ultimate essences of things.
So this is a very important distinction, because the potential existence of immaterial things is obviously the core of religious belief, and even beyond religious belief in terms of a spiritual sense, even with a small s. So we're really delving deeply into the nature of reality. And if we want to bring science into it, you said something quite interesting, that this science can't deal with the ontology, the nature of the being, the existence of an immaterial thing, but it can do metaphysics in helping us to understand the nature of reality.
That's right.
Now, how do we articulate those two?
Well, one very important relation between them is, if scientists fail to tell us the nature of consciousness, then we will have reason to believe the dualist ontology. So whether scientists succeed or fail in finding a physicalist metaphysics for consciousness is the key issue in whether we'll believe in dualism.
Is there any other aspect of science that we can find such a tight nexus between what science does and the questions that ontology asks about ultimate reality?
Well, some people would say that another such area is the area of free will. I myself don't go along with that. I think that, as was shown long ago, free will is incompatible with determinism, but it's also incompatible with indeterminism. So I think free will is a confusion. All the free will that we can have is the free will that that determinism or the form of scientific determinism that we actually have supplies us with. So I don't think that's an area where we could discover that our physical ontology of the world is wrong.
So are you left with only consciousness as this critical probe or litmus test of the nature of the fundamental ontology of the world? What really exists? Is it only physical, or are there immaterial, non-physical parts of it?
I think consciousness is the one remaining world not challenge for science. It's the last thing that scientists have not made huge progress on, and the jury is still out on whether they'll be able to explain it.
How do you see other aspects of today in physics and in cosmology? There are very wild and sophisticated concepts that are not just speculation, but fall out of some very advanced mathematics in terms of quantum mechanics and multiple dimensions and multiple universes, all of which seems to be bringing science into what used to be the realm of the metaphysician.
Yes. Well, the speculative metaphysician, I think all that stuff is wonderful. And it would be, but all that is within the realm of the physicalist.
Yes.
Nothing in that challenges the physicalist. There's nothing in multiple universes to challenge the physicalist.
Right.
The one thing that does challenge the physicalist is consciousness.
And consciousness as we know it here, because we experience it personally, but if that is potentially not only real, but unable to be addressed by science, not only does it mean that the consciousness is real, but then it would open up a whole series of other issues in terms of what that consciousness is and what it relates to, and are there other, it would be a massive question at that point.
Yes, at one time, people who studied quantum mechanics thought you needed consciousness as part of the quantum mechanical machinery, reducing the wave packet.
Yeah, some people still go with that.
Some people still go with that. It's looking less and less plausible. But that was a place in which an immaterialist view of consciousness played a role in the physics.
Well, there are some cosmologists today who would embed consciousness into the only way you can understand the universe, and some very distinguished cosmologists do that.
I think it's just a matter of trying to account for something you don't know how to account for by bringing in something mysterious.
So, trying to explain the inexplicable by the impossible.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But do you see a continuing role for a philosopher trained in metaphysics in helping or guiding, as some would say, science along the road that they're going? Or is the role of the philosopher becoming progressively less important?
Oh, I think the role of the philosopher is becoming progressively more important. As philosophers learn the relevant science, so much of science has within it many philosophical issues that the scientists themselves are trying to answer, but which also needs philosophers who understand the science to deal with. I think the most exciting part of philosophy is the part of philosophy that interfaces with the sciences.